Hey, this is Joe with Grow It Build It, and today I'm going to tell you how to make and grill the perfect burgers. Charcoal grilling can be a little intimidating for some people, just because it's not as easy as a gas grill. You don't just turn a knob on and go. You got to build your fire and kind of learn it. More of an art form. But anyways, one thing I always had a problem with when I started grilling years ago was my burger patties would always be too small, and they would crown and kind of try to turn into meatballs by the time I was done grilling. And so I kind of learned through trial and error a way to make the patties so they wouldn't crown, and a system to cook them consistently all the time so that they're always cooked, they always fill out the bun, and yeah, they're just really good. My dad, who's been grilling for decades, likes my burgers and has complimented me on them, so that was a big thing. But let's get started. You need to get 80% ground beef. You want 80%. I know it may sound unhealthy, but it's going to make a juicy, tender, sweet burger. If you get 90%, I mean, yeah, it won't shrink as much, but it's also going to be a lot tougher to eat. So just do yourself a favor and get 80%. But you can see I'm seasoning these pretty liberally with, it's basically a salt, pepper, garlic mix. It's actually Montreal seasoning, which you can just buy in the store, but it's a good catch-all seasoning. But to make our burgers, what we're going to do is we're going to be targeting like quarter-pound burgers here. And I've kind of found through trial and error that if you make a meatball out of the raw stuff about that big, roughly the size of a baseball or tennis ball, maybe a little smaller, that usually works out to be around a quarter pound. Now we're going to start packing it by slapping it between our hands and squeezing and rotating as we go, like that. I do that for, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. Once I don't feel the patty splitting at all when I'm doing that, I know I've got a well-packed patty, and I can start forming it into the final product. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the palm of my hand just below my thumb and work inside and outside the patty, around it, inside and outside, until I make the final diameter about 1.5 times the size of the bun I'm going to be putting this patty on. And this is for like a regular size hamburger bun. Nothing extravagant, but you want them that big because 80% beef is going to shrink a lot. If you don't do this and you try to make your patty like a normal size one, which that's what I used to do, I'd try to make it the same size as the bun. That's when you wind up with those tiny patties. Now, I did make a tiny patty for this video, and we will grill it at the very end of the video, and you can see what the difference is in the cooked burger between a big floppy giant patty like this and a one that looks like the same size as what you want your burger to be. The last step is to push a little divot into the burger patty, and that also helps prevent crowning. Just don't turn it into a donut by poking all the way through, but just press a little depression in the center of the patty. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it'll help reduce the amount of crown, or the amount that the patty tries to form itself back into a ball as the fat cooks off and the patty shrinks. But just make all your patties though. This takes a little bit of time, but it's like anything. The more you give, the more you get. So it doesn't take too long once you get your system down and get some experience under your belt. But make all your patties, and then we're going to get into grilling. Now, this video is part of a little playlist I'm making, just Grilling 101 for charcoal, and I'm assuming you know how to light your grill, but if you don't, I'll put a card in the top right to the playlist or the video on how to do that. You can see that I have all my coal arranged on one side of the grill. This is so that I can sear the meat on one side of the grill and then bake it on the other side. And it also allows me to quickly and efficiently move more raw meat in as I'm moving cooked meat out. But try to pack the patties as close as you can together on the hot side of the grill where the coals are. And again, the raw meat is very pliable and floppy, especially these because we made them extra big. But cover that whole side if you can, and we are going to set a timer for 4 minutes. Okay. Now I have about 2 layers of hot coal there, but 4 minutes seems to be about right. 4 or 5 minutes, just play with it, see what you like. But this is a good time to crack a cold one if you want, because now we're going to be doing a lot of waiting mixed in with some flipping and whatnot. But Once the 4 minutes is done, we just need to flip them. So the system is we're going to sear one side for 4 minutes, flip, sear the other side for 4 minutes, and then move them off the coals to the other side of the grill and let them bake for 4 minutes. And you really don't have to do anything besides that, and keep the system going, and you will cook burgers. They'll be cooked all the way through, and they're going to be cooked consistently, thickness, diameter, all that. And you can see that I'm flipping my burgers off the coals. The reason I do this is sometimes in the divot that we pressed into the center, you'll get fat pooling up as the burger cooks. So if you flip it over the coals, sometimes you can get an instant flare up, which you might lose some arm hair. So if you flip it on the other side of the grill off the coals, then it's pretty easy at that point. Basically the fat won't get on the coals, you won't have the flame up. But these patties are looking pretty good already. Good enough to eat, really, if you don't mind a little pink in the middle. But once we move these off, we're gonna bake them for 4 or 5 minutes. A little more doesn't hurt. But at the same time, we're gonna put some more raw patties on now to start searing one side of those. And if we just keep doing this, we're gonna maximize the use of our fire and be very efficient with our coal. This is also a good time to point out, look how big these raw patties are compared to the ones that are basically cooked. You can just see how much they actually shrink down from the original size to the final. That's why we make those patties big. But again, we're going to go 4 minutes on this, and then we'll just keep this system going indefinitely. Now, if you're not sure if your burger's done, you can do a few things. You can cut it in half and look to see if it's cooked. You can use a meat thermometer, or you can use touch. I like to use touch if I'm unsure, and what that is if you touch the tip of your nose, that's roughly what rare meat would feel like. If you touch your chin, that's medium cooked, and if you touch your forehead, that's well done. And I've been talking about how these burgers were very pliable and floppy when they're raw. As they cook, they get firm. So the more firm they get, the more cooked they are. If you left it on there forever, you'd wind up with a small black hockey puck that wouldn't move at all. But anyways, keep this system going. For cheese, when they're baking, you can just throw a little bit of cheese on. Try not to do this until the very end though, because if you're stacking up your burgers in a tray like I am, you make a big mess if you put cheese on all of them as you go, obviously. But this is great though, a great system for cooking your burgers. I think the most burgers I've ever cooked at one time was like 25, I think. But when you do get flame up like this, it's really not a big deal because what you can do to put out the fire, well, what you will do is when you put the lid on, that's going to pretty much put the fire out. But if you want to be certain of it, you just close the top vent of your grill for just a couple seconds. That will snuff out any flame that is going. And that's all you got to do, and the flame is basically out. So these are the same burgers a couple minutes later. And obviously they're not burnt and shriveled, they're fine. But like I said, this is part of a little series on grilling that I'll be updating periodically. It's not my normal channel content, but you can check back on the playlist. I'll add to it as I shoot other stuff when I remember to when I'm grilling. But anyways though, there's me poking the patties with my spatula. Don't smash them, just gently touch them and you can figure out how cooked they are. But while these last ones bake though, I'll show you a little preview of one of the other videos we're going to be doing for that playlist. That's going to be good. It's basically how you can smoke meat without a smoker, because I smoke a lot of meat on this grill. I don't have a smoker, I just use the grill itself. But it's a real simple process and method that you can do to make some delicious chicken. And I mean really, really, really good chicken. Yeah, that looks pretty good. But anyways, we're going to get back to our burgers here. And these are all done, so here at the end I'm going to show you what happens when we use the small patty here in just a second. But yeah, I don't know, it's this is the simple method for cooking the burgers. We'll cut open one of them here in a minute and take a look at the finished product. But and we had some fancy buns this day apparently, but they are basically the same size as a regular round one, corner to corner. But anyways, though, I mean, they fit the bun. They're actually a little slightly bigger than the bun, and they're cooked all the way through. Now, here's a little patty. This is the kind of patty I used to make before I figured out my system. And that's the patty that I've basically been making that you watched me make. But you know, one of them is thicker and stiffer. This one is thinner and floppier, and much larger in size though. But we'll put both of these on the grill, use the same process, and we'll see what difference comes out of it. Yeah, I mean, you have to take into account how much the meat's going to shrink when the fat kind of cooks off, because it has a huge impact on everything. But all right, so we'll close the lid here and see what happens. After 4 minutes, we can see some pretty big differences already in the patties. So that's crowning, really bad crowning right there. It's starting to trying to form itself into a ball. I mean, it won't be able to, but it's going to try to get the shape. This one crowned a little bit as well, but not nearly as much relative to the diameter of the patty. And they're both shrinking, you know, but one's just going to shrink more. After flipping the second time, the size differences is becoming a little bit more pronounced. And we'll see, we'll pull these off and take a look real quick. Yeah, I was glad I did this because it really shows the difference. I mean, this was the same amount of meat in each patty. Like, I'm not cheating or anything like that. But there's what it looks like on a bun from the top view, and then from the side is where it's really pronounced. The burger on the left is what those small patties do. I mean, that's not one that annoys me. I don't want to eat burgers like that. So anyways, that's pretty much the video. Thank you guys for your time. I hope you learned something. If you got any other tips that I don't know of that you want to share, please put them in the comments. Got any questions, let me know. And if you want to check out any other videos, feel free to do so. You might find something you like. I definitely like smoking chicken though. I do that about every time I grill. In fact, when I grill, I try to cook meat for the whole week, and probably more than my family can even eat most of the time actually. But that's about it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and you guys have a good one.